My understanding, if you are watching this video, that you have interest in reaching out to Muslims. And that's really bring joy to me, because I love the Muslim people. And I love the fact that to see more and more people reaching out to Muslims. If you are one of these people that interested in reaching Muslims, that's awesome. Muslims are very kind and nice people. They love to talk about God. Also, I just really encourage you, you know about what's happening in Syria, Iraq, and all over across the Islamic world. I just encourage you to pray for the Muslim world. Pray not just for the Christians, pray for the Muslim people, pray for the nation, for these countries by name, one after one. Take this Islamic world country by country and pray for them. You know why? I tried it and it works really well. When you meet a Muslim, ask them, where are you from? When they say from Syria, tell them, I've been praying for your country. And I promise you that just one phrase will break a lot of barriers between you and them, because now they see that you care about them, you're praying about them, and that's just amazing. You see the smile in their face, oh, you are praying for us. They love that. And that's just bring you very, very close to them.
Every interaction you have with the Muslims should either build bridges, share Christ, or challenge Islam. And depending on the setting you are in, you might do one or more of those. And we want to give you an idea right now in today's lesson on how to build bridges. We're going to talk a little bit about the concept of building a bridge. You notice that pretty bridge in the Japanese garden. There are two ends to the bridge. If you want a really good bridge, it needs to be stable on both ends, right? So when you're bridging, we first want our end of the bridge to be secure. I am going to assume that you have had most of this training, because that has to do with your spiritual strength and development. And so I will mention them briefly instead of going into a lot of detail. But you know, prayer is important for every activity you're doing. You are basically on the front lines. It's not only in, you know, deepest, darkest mission field overseas. It's here. You will feel every bit like what you feel when you're on overseas missions. And pray like it. Recognize your own stumbling blocks, things in your life that could be a problem. Fear, thinking that a certain people group are your enemies, either as Christians or politically. Theology, some people's theology makes it hard for them to evangelize. Politics, end times, what you're thinking of the end times, or those are all things that could be stumbling blocks. So the main thing is to keep the main thing, right? There is a song about that that I really like, a Christian song. So the main thing is to keep the main thing, the main thing. There are 5 L's to evangelism that we won't go into detail on, but you need to love people because they don't care what you say until they see that you care. Yeah. So you need to love, you need to learn about whatever people you're working with personally and their culture. You need to look. Remember, we're pursuing and loving. Jesus came to seek and save the lost, not to sit and wait for everyone to come to him. And we need to lean on Christ. And last, that means, you know what? It may take a long time. It may take years. So you have to hang in there. One of the women here at Horizons, I believe, said 23 years, George. I think she was from Sudan or something. 23 years from the first time she heard the gospel till she became a believer. So you have to laugh. Now, these are character traits. I really think this is important, at least that you see this. Why? Because Mom is going to tell you there will be days like this, and it won't be easy. So, and things that are different to our culture, like hospitality. You may think you're being really hospitable. You won't be hospitable enough. To be generous, to be friendly, to put yourself out a little bit out of your comfort zone, that you might humiliate yourself or do something stupid. To show interest in other cultures, people, activities. Be flexible, be modest. You need to be open to different ideas and possibilities. A natural gospel, like we talked about with the salt shaker. Some caution, a lot of forgiveness, sympathy and empathy, and you're going to have to overlook stuff, and you may end up needing to give some counsel. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Things you're going to need to overlook. Gossip. They're going to talk about you behind your back. Just accept it. Some of it will be good. It won't all be good, but you have to accept it. Refused invitations. The way I look at it is, if on a friendship level, if I ask someone to do something with me and they don't want to, I might ask them a second time. That's it. You know, if they don't want to be my friend, I get the idea. But when you're in ministry, you have to put up with a lot of rejections and refusals, and don't take it personally. You just, if you've met someone, especially with a student, you know, they have exams, they have lots of things going on in their life, and there may be gaps of months between times that you see them. Unreturned calls, imposition. You'll think that something's going to happen, and somebody shows up with 5 of their friends, or they take for granted that you're going to do this or that. You might feel like you're being taken advantage of, either your hospitality, your money, anything. And you probably will feel abused. Expect all that. And then when it happens, you won't care as much. Okay, how to meet Muslim students. Again, an anointed picture from downstairs. You can meet them really well through personal contacts. If you are a student, you'll know people that are students with you. Personal contacts are great. If not, there are events, festivals, student ministries like ours, like Horizons, International Bridges. How many of you know of other student ministries, international ministries? You've probably, maybe you volunteered with some. On campus directly, like we talked about, the outreach tracks, just walking around and trying to meet people. Or around town, you might find them especially in a university area, like if you go up on the hill. Here, sometimes I've done that around the campus. For example, on a day where the campus is closed, and you can meet students there in Starbucks or just walking around. Ethnic markets are good, stores. Hookah bars, kind of. And we can talk about that. Muslim events are very common. So if you're living near a university, you can try to find out. By walking on the campus, you'll see posters for them. You can go, usually on Tuesdays, they have a booth on most campuses where they're inviting people to events. So there are both kinds of events. A closed event means you're not invited to go into it, but if you know they're having their Friday prayer meeting and you're in the area, you can talk to them when they come out. Okay, now bridging. Remember that Jesus' method was different with different people. And as you've already heard, every person is different, every Muslim is different. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind shyness. Don't take that personally either. It doesn't necessarily reflect their estimation of you or the relationship. How would you feel if you were speaking in Arabic? I think most of us in here would be a little shy. Always keep in mind that there is some expression, and give people the benefit of the doubt, because they may clumsily say something that sounds like they're insulting you. They don't mean it that way at all. It's just that their English isn't that refined. So hang in there. They do respect endurance. I've had Muslims that came to Christ tell me that. Cynthia, we couldn't believe what you put up with from us all these years, literally. Remember, we are here to serve, not to be served. You're not here for them to make you feel good like you're the best American, the best Christian, whatever. No, we're here to serve. But occasionally, we need to let them do something for us. That is affirming. And so if they want to buy you a coffee now and then or give you a gift or something, yeah, you should allow that. But it's not like, like you are to be served. So that's what you do on your end of the bridge, how you get your attitude in mind and what to expect. Now, to make their end of the bridge more secure, they need to know that you love them and smile at them, show an interest so that they will see that you do care. Find ways to identify with them. Just a few days ago, I met a Sudanese Muslim, and that was one of the initial bridges I used with her, was talking about modesty and certain traditions that Christians have more in common with Muslims than general America. So try to find something you can identify with them. Maybe it's a class or an interest. A lot of times it could be food, if you like the food from their country.
For ladies, I want to tell you that Muslim women love to teach people how to cook, for example. That's one of the best things. Like, ask them, where are you from? Syria. Oh, I love hummus. I love this. They're willing to spend hours with you to teach you how to cook, but this is an amazing opportunity where you can meet with them one-on-one.
You might need to repair. Some previous Christians may have done stupid things or things they've experienced in their culture or in the past or whatever. I don't personally necessarily apologize for the Crusades. That's a whole other topic, and the Christians didn't start it. But, so I wouldn't bring up anything that needs to be repaired, but you may find that they need some repair. And spend, that means spend your money, your time, your love. And it's kind of for those of you in business, it's a long-term capital gain. You're expecting what? Expect language barriers, cultural barriers, expect stretched envelopes, yours and the students. Expect you will be misunderstood sometimes. You might need to restate things and clarify. There will be ups and downs in their interest. And as I mentioned before, sometimes because of their English, you feel like you need to do all the talking, and you're trying to get very subtle clues from them. Are they interested, or what are they thinking? Strong bridges, so we've got their end and our end. If you want to make that a strong bridge, things that will help you share life makes it stronger. If you help them, if you meet a need, these are all kinds of things that you can help them with. And having fun together, having some good shared life experiences. If they respond to your jokes, if they understand enough English, yeah, you can do that. And if they don't, you can just smile and try to make it a pleasant experience being with you. A lot of these things are going to work not just with students. These are part of our basic building bridges training. We're going to talk about a few practical connections. We're not saying everything has to be a step-by-step thing, but when you have tools and you kind of know what they are, you can think, oh, I could use this now. So we're going to talk about the word bridge, Esther bridge, we already mentioned, and a Nehemiah bridge. So let's talk about some word bridges. Words would be, in this context, things we say, not necessarily the word of God. So communicating. When you're communicating with international students or anyone in America that's learning English, you want to speak slowly and clearly. That seems obvious, but believe me, people don't do it. And you see, I speak quickly when I am teaching. On the television show, I try specifically to speak slowly and clearly, to use small words, avoid slang. Often you will need to ask people if they understand you. Some cultures, people do not want to admit it. There's a lot of shame in some Middle Eastern and Asian cultures. So repeat things, ask, be patient, and remember, you also are a learner. These things, I know we've got a lot of great things to cover, but I will try to just emphasize some of the more important things. How many of you know how to say Assalamu alaikum? If you don't, we're not going to take time to practice it, but that is your best word bridge for meeting someone, because they immediately know that you know they're Muslim, you know a little about their culture, and you respect them. So do learn how to say that well. Now, we talked earlier at the beginning, about how my family doing international business has been part of my platform. And if we get down to the lab, which we probably won't have time for, and you will probably need to do this on your own, but develop your platform. And that will be talking about why it is that you are interested in talking with this person. They're going to want to know, how come this American talks to me and nobody else does? What is their angle? And you need to have a reasonable answer to give them. So I suggest you look at your life. What experience have you had with internationals? Right now, you are all basically proclaimed. I'm proclaiming you, probably George already has. You are now students of Islam, maybe even of Arabic. So you're studying Islam. Okay, so work on your platform, whatever that is. If you need help with, I'll offer to give you help with a couple of things. I'll help you build your platform. The other thing is, if there's somebody and you don't know how to bridge to them, for some reason, God's given me a really good ability to find a bridge with almost anybody of whatever age, language, or culture, and I can give you some ideas and that you can use tomorrow to bridge with someone. So I'm happy to help you with that. Okay, so complement their culture, be honest and open. You want to be like real. You want to be who you are. You don't have to say everything. And I'm going to give you some topics that I have found are really good for discussion with internationals and to some degree all Muslims. Language and school questions. We've talked about tutoring, English a bit. General, about family, life, weather in different areas. America, I found that really good because you can bridge from that to the gospel. And you talk about how it was founded by Christians, but they're thinking all Americans are Christian because in their culture it's all Islam. And you explain why it's not that way. Or you can also say, we see some things in America that you as a Muslim and I as a Christian don't really appreciate, but America was founded on the idea that people can choose. And if you can choose good, you can also choose bad. And so you can go into that and you can talk about why we are given the ability to choose in America and how that relates to the gospel and God wanting us to choose to love him and things like that. So the America Bridge is really a good one. We talked about using names, places to share. American hobbies and activities. Holidays are great. You can talk about cultural differences. What do you do in your culture and this is what we do. And then religion, comparing religions. So these are specific things you can say in comparing cultures. What differences do you see? I think this is really helpful. Well, you've been in America for a year now. Maybe you can share with me what are the differences you see between where you lived before and America. And then from that you can explain from the Christian point of view why that might be. Or you could say, what I've noticed is, we call that turnabout. I heard your previous lecturer talking about something about coming at it the other way around, and we also like to do that, come at it from a different way. So if you are asking them a question, then it's only fair that you get to share your point of view also. Merge into differences in religion when you can. And other questions you can ask. What would you like to talk about today? What are you studying this week? When is your next day off? Are you planning any trips? Those are all very natural and good questions that help you connect. Now, in your relationship as a mentor, remember that's trusted advisor. You are advising on many things, but you need to know your limitations. Anybody who's strong, like in a medical specialty, you need to know what you know and what you don't know, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And that is really important to help you master what you're doing. Same thing with this. You are not a professional in many areas, especially here we're talking about psychology, because a lot of issues will arise. Struggles with American lifestyle, discrimination, ostracization, morality, fears, financial needs, women's problems, which we talk more about in a different seminar. But remember that some of these will be beyond you. But you will get into a lot of topics that you can discuss also. The Esther Bridge, which is asking to meet them individually, usually individually soon. It may also be at a meeting. The Nehemiah Bridge is where you're building. Okay, you're building that. And this is a student from Saudi Arabia, another French Algerian Muslim, and someone from my family. And so you're building that bridge with your time, your money, your strength. You're really putting into it. Other suggested activities you can get involved with, there are many. Of course, with the Esther Bridge, you can go out. You can go to campus events together. The International Student Festivals are a common one to go to. Go do sports together. If you find out they like sports and you do, that's really great. Actually, shopping, some of the students, we've gone on San Francisco shopping trips, traveling, dancing. You can see that's from one of our dances. This is girls only, women. We say, no drugs, no weapons, no men. And then a lot of the young women that otherwise are very shy, if there are no men around, they take off their scarves and we just have a lot of fun. You can have discussion groups or conferences, and that we've found has been a pretty good thing with women. You can talk about women's rights, or how can American women help Middle Eastern women, or how can we learn about each other. And you can ask them to church, especially at holidays. Holidays are great. Both those students are now believers. Traveling, having fun, helping. This is an Iraqi family that I was helped by some people working with our ministry. Bridge busters, things that cause a lot of trouble. Number one up there is dress. For me, that's always a challenge because, as you know, there are many different kinds of Muslims, and we want to, in every way, reach all kinds of people and not be offensive. The good news with students is you're really not in as much trouble as with some of the other ethnic groups because they are a lot more open. So I kind of take my cue from the Muslim I'm with. If I'm with a student from a very westernized country where they're not totally covered, I will be a little more liberal than if they are not. But usually just dressing like an immodest American works. This is a whole seminar on its own, which hopefully you're getting somewhere else. But also watch for appearing judgmental. I've also received comments because in some of the cultures there's a lot of criticism. And if you're not being critical or judgmental, they will actually notice that. And I have had feedback that we notice you don't gossip about people. And of course, as Christians, we don't even think about it. Maybe it's just certain things that we're practicing in our Christian walk is different. Avoid, again, politics and end times theology. Be careful with your behavior between sexes, especially the guys. This is a big discussion with the women. But for the younger women, yeah, you need to be careful with the guys. The people my age, the mom's age, it's really not such a big deal. But always keep that in mind as something to be careful with. If I am involved with a guy, like some guy I meet here or on a campus, eventually I try to connect him. Even though I'm old enough to be his mom, I will connect him with another guy. And also be careful about pushing too soon, too much too soon. This is really important to know. It's, again, one of those Mama told me there'd be days like this, but there will be rough patches, okay? This means just expect it. In every relationship, you're going to have on again, off again. It's not always going to be easy or perfect, but don't panic, don't give up, be faithful. I mean, there were many times say with one person over 6 years that came to Christ, many times I was thinking, oh my goodness, that could be the end of it. Well, if something happened that's a misunderstanding, try to restore it. Sometimes you just need to wait till the heat dies down. But I want to give you good examples and bad examples. Okay, so if you're at a rough patch and you feel like they don't want to talk to you anymore, they're not returning your calls, if it's a misunderstanding, something you did wrong, you can try to correct it. But a lot of times it won't be that. It will be option 2, good. Something that you said or did hit home and they really have to think about it. Maybe you challenged them in a certain way and they just are processing it. They don't feel comfortable with you right now. So it's not always bad when you hit those rough patches. So I think that covers enough of our building bridges to people, and I thank all of you for being here.
Muslims are very passionate regarding a religious topic. They love to talk about God. Actually, in one of the cities here in the United States, when we knock Muslim homes and we just tell them straight, we are Christians, we would like to talk about God, and would you like to talk about God? And the majority will say to us, yes, come in and let's talk about God. I encourage you, reach out to them, to the cashier at the gas station that you always go to. Maybe it's a Muslim. Reach out to them, say hi to them, get to know them, go to the same gas station regularly. They are wonderful people. Hear their cry. But now, how we can overcome the fear of reaching out to Muslims? I promise you, no matter what I tell you, it's not going to help you, except when you go and meet them and look at them in the eyes and realize this is people that Jesus loved. This is people that are in their way to hell without Christ. The only way for them to be saved is through the gospel of Jesus Christ. I urge you to meet them, to talk to them. And this is human like us. They are not a project. They are people who went through hard situations themselves in the Islamic world. They went through suffering. They have loved ones that died in their family. Would you listen to their cry? Would you talk to them? Would you reach out to them, offer to pray for them? I promise you, from your first outreach meeting these people, all that fear will be gone.